Hello everyone. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to take all of those scrap pieces of fabric you've been saving for a rainy day and let's sew them together and make this really cool jacket. You ready? Let's get started. Okay, so I need you to get some craft paper, some cardboard, something that you have that you can use to make your pattern. So I have this craft paper and I just rolled out a piece and cut it big enough. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace a jacket that I already made, but I want you to get a jacket that you have. I want you to fold it in half and stretch it out like I did. Lay it on your paper, and then we're going to add a 1/2 inch seam allowance and trace it all the way around our jacket. So let's do that now. Okay, so you can see this pattern is super simple. It's one piece, okay? So when we make our back of our jacket, we'll place that pattern on the fold right there where it's marked, and we'll trace it onto our quilted fabric and cut it out, and that will be the back of our jacket. Then the front of our jacket will not be placed on the fold because of course it's going to have to open in the front. So we will have two pieces that we will cut that are mirrored. So the next thing we're going to do is gather our scrap fabrics and start sewing them together. So I have my 10.5 inch square ruler there to show you about how many strips of fabric or how wide your strip sets need to be to make your blocks. Now you can make your blocks any size you want. You can do 6 inch, 9 inch, 8 inch, whatever scraps you have. You're just going to sew them all together. For me, I made my scrap strip sets a little bit larger than 1/2 inches so that I could just cut them into squares and then sew the squares together. I also added some scrap blocks that I had that were just scraps that I practiced making blocks or whatever, or maybe I made a block and I didn't like the way the fabric looked together, but you know, I don't have the heart to throw things away and I want to reuse them, so I added them to my jacket. Now you can do it any way you want. There's no quilt police here, okay? So for my jacket, I had to make 30 blocks. I made them 3 blocks high and 10 blocks long, 3 rows. Okay, so as you can see on my design wall, I started to lay out the blocks to kind of get an idea of how I wanted them to look for my jacket. So now I'm going to start sewing all of my blocks together, and then I'm going to sandwich it like you would a quilt. So we'll have batting. All right, so we will take our quilt sandwich and we'll go to our sewing machine. Here I'm straight line stitching it over and over, up and down, making sure that my fabric is secure just like you would a quilt. Okay, so now that we have it all straight line quilted together, we're going to lay it out on the floor or a table or whatever you have, and we're going to trim it up just like a quilt that you're going to put binding on. Now that we have it all trimmed up, we'll go back to our cutting mat. I'm going to fold our quilt in half, wrong sides together. As you can see, the fold right there on the edge of the mat is where I'm going to place my pattern and cut my back out. So first thing I'm going to do is put the pattern on there and trace it with a marker all the way around the pattern. Okay, so I folded it in half and I put my pattern on and I traced it with a permanent Sharpie all the way around. So now I know where to cut out. This is the front. And then down where the fold is, that's the back piece. The back is on the fold. The front is not, because of course the front's going to be open in the front. So let me pin this down before I cut it. Just going to pin along my line to hold the fabric in place so it doesn't shift when I'm cutting the fabric. Okay, so I have my design drawn onto my fabric. I have it pinned down inside my design. I drew on here with a black permanent marker. Now I'm going to cut it out. Okay, so here is our front. So here's one side of the front, and there is the other side of the front. So let me cut out the back now. Okay, so now that I have my jacket cut out, I clipped it. Here's the front. This is the two front pieces. I put right sides together. This is the back. Okay, and I clipped it all the way around to hold all of the pieces together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this to the serger, and I'm going to serge under the arm and down the side. And then I'm going to serge up across the top of the shoulder. From the shoulder all the way down the sleeve. I'm going to run that through the serger on both sides. Okay, so let me get out my serger. Okay, so after I was finished serging my jacket, I turned it inside out and I tried it on and it fit great. So the next thing I needed to do was put binding. So I put binding all the way around the neck, down the front, and the bottom of the jacket. Bind it just like you bind a quilt. Because I had enough fabric left over with the scraps, what I did is I sewed my scraps together and then I cut them into a shape to make two cute front pockets. So in this picture, I'm showing you that I took some 2.5-inch wide strips of fabric, I folded it in half, and I used it as binding. And I put binding around the edge of my pockets. So in order to close the front of my quilted jacket, I added these plastic snaps to the front. They're very easy to attach. You can buy it as a whole kit. All the tools are in there, and you can purchase it on Amazon pretty cheap. All right, guys, so that's it. It's really simple to make this scrap busting jacket. So break out all them scraps, get out some art paper or cardboard and make you a pattern. Start sewing them pieces together. You will be surprised how quick this jacket comes together. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you make a jacket. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Like and subscribe to Grandma's channel. Like and subscribe to Grandma's channel.